Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for the Seven Deadly Sins, aka Nanatsu no Taizai Episode 1. Okay, and I don't read the manga for this, so I'm coming in this without any prior knowledge. Well, that's not entirely true, I guess. I already knew that the main character's name was Meliodas. Little did I know that that would be an actual thing, and that we wouldn't actually find out his name until the end of the episode. Um, but yeah. Um, I'm coming into this without any prior knowledge, so yeah, I'm gonna. For once, I can actually theorize for things. Usually, like with World Trigger or the regular Magic High School, Brynhilder, Infinite Stratos, Freezing Vibrations, like most. I'm realizing now that most of the anime I've reviewed on my channel have been stuff that I followed already, and I know what's going to happen. Wow, this is one of the few anime I've done where I actually don't know what to expect. Like Hunter x Hunter, and yeah, wow, that's there aren't that many. So yeah, this will be interesting. This will be interesting getting into this. So yeah, I guess I might as well get into it. Um, this episode starts off 10 years in the past. We meet Meliodas. He's not he's from this place called Canes, but apparently this I have no clue if he was telling the truth or not, because this dude that was a part of the kingdom for 40 years said he had no clue where Canes was and he had never even heard of it before. So I don't know if he was just saying that to give an answer, if he was actually serious and that it really is just that deep in the kingdom and you just wouldn't know about it. Um, but yeah, he says he's from Canes. Right off the bat, we learn that he's not an apprentice of any of the Sacred Knights, which already that's I guess I'm assuming that the process for being knighted is you first have to prove yourself worthy of becoming an apprentice. And then once you prove yourself as an apprentice, then you become a sacred knight. Then you actually get knighted. I would assume that's how it works. Uh, but that's just a guess on my part. Alioni later on in the episode seemed pretty gung-ho about becoming an apprentice, so I would guess that that is the legitimate first step in becoming a knight. So yeah, seems kind of obvious, but I mean not obvious, but it's logical. How about I put it like that? It seems logical for that to be the case. It's not necessarily the case though. I'm sure there are some exceptions of people who became sacred knights because they're just that good. They did need to become an apprentice first. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff. All right. Whatever. All right. The point is that these sacred knights, okay, Meliodas and this old dude walk up and see all these sacred knights have been slaughtered. All right. All over the country this happened. All of them were slaughtered in an instant, and now there are only 7 sacred knights left. Okay. And this is when the narrator comes in and he starts talking about how this world has both humans and non-humans in it. Alright, so I'm assuming that's going to be relevant at some point, just to kind of keep things open. Right now we've got Hawk and Mother Hawk, but that's about it. I'm sure there will be more not even animals, but like beasts and monsters and stuff. Because if you look at like the art that was in the background as the narrator was talking, these were not like little cute animals and crap. These are like legit monsters. So I'm sure at some point these monsters are actually going to come into the series or something. You know. But anyway, that's just something to look forward to. I think. I'm assuming. All right. The narrator also points out that the purpose of the Sacred Knights is to protect the kingdom with their spells, which means they can use some type of magic or something. So they have some type of ability. We see Twigo later in the episode essentially using Getsuga Tensho. I don't know if that was like just like a sword skill or if that was like legit his spell. It's the power system, like the magic system and all that, it hasn't really been very developed yet, so I don't really know what to expect from that. But it's safe to say that the authors leave things open on purpose so that it can give things room to grow. Um, but yeah, moving on. Traitors, the Seven Deadly Sins. Okay, they are the few people who actually stood up against the Knights, because as we learn later on in the episode, the Knights they're not all that good. They're really not. So I would assume the Seven Deadly Sins realized that the Knights were not good, and that's why they stood up to them. But because of propaganda and all that, the Seven Deadly Sins ended up becoming the villains and the bad guys. Okay, so that's how I'm assuming things happen. Alright? But after that incident, we fast forward 10 years and we see Meliodas in his bar that he owns with Hawk, his talking pig, which people were surprised by this talking pig. So, while I do think that there's room for all these beasts and stuff to come into the series, the way things are right now, it looks like this whole non-human thing is, they got it pretty under control, because these guys were just so surprised to see a talking pig in a world where non-humans exist. So I was like, I guess there aren't many non-humans walking about anymore. I would assume so. That would explain their shock and surprise. All right, but this one dude he comes into the bar and starts talking about rusty knights. Now we saw a rusty knight. And that's when we hear from these guys inside the bar that the seven deadly sins actually wear rusty armor. That's like that's one of their trademarks. They also have marks on their bodies, like symbols. But the rusty armor is one of their trademarks, right? And the seven deadly sins are Meliodas, Galther, Merlin, Escanor, Diane, Bon, and King. Okay. I said I was only spoiled on Meliodas' name, but I guess I've heard about some of these guys. Like, I don't know about them, but I've heard of them at least. Like, I've heard of Bon, I've heard of Galther, I've heard people saying they're pretty cool, that they're pretty legit, so that's something to look forward to, I guess. But yeah, this the dude that was talking about the rusty armor and stuff, yeah. So once the guy in the rusty armor actually comes into the bar, and once he does that, everyone just clears the place, right? But then the guy in the rusty armor falls over and reveals that he's not actually a guy, but he's a girl. And Meliodas was pretty thorough in his research to determine the person's gender. I'll put it like that. I'll put it like that. Okay. Um, Meliodas is funny. I'll say it. All right? He's pretty funny. All right? When Elizabeth woke up, he was like, I was just checking to make sure nothing was wrong with your heartbeat. Meanwhile, his head is on the completely opposite side of where the heart is. It's like, that was fun. I found that to be really funny. He's on the heart's on the left side. He's on the right side. I just found that funny. All right, but anyway, this girl Elizabeth ends up telling us that she's looking for the seven deadly sins. Okay, and as soon as she tells us that, that's when we get the knock on the door and we find out that the Knights of Mustache Cat Mountain are there to arrest the girl because they serve the sacred knight Twigo, and they are supposed to arrest the seven deadly sins if they find them. I mean, some people say they're dead and everything. No one really knows what's going on with them, but once the rumor spreads that a dude in rusty armor is going up to his bar, then they're going to go check it out, you know, naturally. All right. And they try to fool these dudes with Hawk, and that just does not work. Then they see Elizabeth running out the back or the side. So then this chase ensues, but they manage to actually get away from them. Alione falls off the cliff. That looks painful. Well, he's got toon durability. Right? He's got toon durability where you can fall off of a cliff and still be okay, like Wile E. Coyote or something. All right, so he's perfectly fine. All right. But this is where Alione actually talked about his motivation in becoming an apprentice of a sacred knight. That's why he was trying so hard to capture Elizabeth. But yeah, I already talked about that. Now, after they managed to get away from these dudes, the other four that were remaining went and called Twigo over. Right, but while Twigo was on his way, we hear more about Elizabeth and why exactly she is going after the seven deadly sins. Okay. And she says that she's doing this to prevent the sacred and the holy knights from getting to them and starting a war and just causing trouble. Alright? Them referring to the seven deadly sins, I mean. Because, well, first of all, holy knights exist. That's the first thing I got out of this. Before we were just talking about sacred knights. But now we're talking about holy knights too, which I would assume that holy knights are higher up. They're stronger and have more influence than sacred knights, I would assume. But that's that. We don't have any actual proof of that. That's just an assumption. But yeah, she goes on to say that these dudes are probably going to cause war, bring war to the country, and that they can't be trusted. She says that the Holy Knights arrested members of the royal family and spread rumors about the king being sick because they're essentially trying to take over, and it's propaganda, man. Propaganda, okay? And she says that the seven deadly sins are needed in order to defeat the sacred knights and the holy knights. Okay, that's why she's searching for them. And this is when Twigo comes in. He came out of nowhere. He just like cut part of the cliff off, and they just fell down. Like, he came out of nowhere. It actually caught me by surprise a little bit. But he thinks they're dead, but I mean, he's one of those cliche guys who just never actually checks to make sure that the person's dead. I don't know why people do that, but whatever. Luckily for him, Meliodas carries everybody up, including Alione, before he actually leaves and makes the report. Oh, 3 people dead. Okay. And when Twigo sees Elizabeth, he sees the earrings that she's wearing and confirms that it has the symbol of the royal family on it. And then he identifies her as Princess Elizabeth, okay, the 3rd princess of the royal family, right? Which, if you know that these guys are arresting members of the royal family, why would you walk around with symbols of the royal family? I mean, I get that she was wearing armor, but I mean that's not much better actually. That's really not much better at all. That's actually worse. Because now instead of just having the royal and the holy knights looking to try and capture you, now everybody's looking at you trying to capture you and alert people. Okay, so that's actually much worse. But still, if I were, I would have left those earrings at home or something. Because unless her home isn't safe because the knights invaded it or something. That's different, but we don't know that for sure. Maybe they did, since there was a warrant out for her arrest apparently. But still, at least put them in your pocket or something. Like, like seriously, like I mean, you don't see Meliodas walking around without sleeves, showing off his symbol. Look at me, I got the symbol of the dragon. Like you don't see him do that. I just didn't understand that, but whatever. I guess it's not a big deal. I just don't understand the lack of logic there, but whatever. Um, so Twigo attacks them with Getsu Tenjo, like I said before. And once he does that, Elizabeth kind of just realizes that they're screwed. And she tries to save Meliodas, but that's when he reveals that he is in fact Meliodas. Okay, which did not surprise me at all. Like I said before, I knew his name for a long time. Um, and then we see the symbol of the dragon on his arm. Again, each of the 7 deadly sins has symbols on their body. They have the rusty armor and they have the symbols. Those are the 2 things we know about the 7 deadly sins right now that let you know that someone is one of the 7 deadly sins. All right. Another thing that gets pointed out is the fact that Meliodas hasn't aged in 10 years, which maybe that has to do with the spells. I would assume so, or maybe he's just one of those characters. Japan likes characters like that. They look the same, like in Index, where you have the teacher that's actually a little girl, but not really a little girl, like the pink-haired one. you know, um, I maybe it's because of his spell. I don't know. Well, Twigo actually made a point of saying you haven't aged in 10 years, so. I guess I guess that is because of his spell. Maybe, I guess. Either that or something completely different that we just haven't found out about yet. Alright. Yeah, Meliodas settles everything. Yeah, Mother Hawk comes along. The bar was on her back. They just picked up the bar and put it on there, I guess, and they flew away to the next city. Yeah, so they're gone. Meliodas had said to Elizabeth that he was actually looking for the other sins himself because he had some issue that he needed their help with in order to solve it. But yeah, Twigo ends up going back to wherever, I guess his base or his headquarters, the kingdom, whatever. And we see this dude with pink hair who really, really, really wants to take out the 7 deadly sins. So yeah, um, yeah, that's really it. Um, the episode overall, I mean, it was cool, I guess. I mean, there wasn't really much of a hook here. I mean, most of the episode was just like, I mean, you didn't even know the main characters' names until like 16 minutes in, or I don't actually know how long it was. I just made that number up, but the point is that it was quite a while into the episode. So so you're not really into it because you don't even know about the people that you're watching. Like it's Now that's another thing, actually, the similarities to Fairy Tale. Because the translator actually put a note up there pointing out, like, really, you're copying off a Fairy Tale, really? Which they said they they mentioned Fairy Tale as another one of their creations. Fairy Tale isn't created by A1 Pictures, neither is Seven Deadly Sins, their manga written by completely different. They didn't know what they were talking about, but the similarities to Fairy Tale do actually exist. Like, a girl from a well-off family is looking for a group of people and just so happens to run into a boy that is a part of that group of people and doesn't actually realize it until she gets saved by that boy who is OP from the beginning of the series and also has a talking animal with him. Like, there are a lot of similarities here. The difference is that instead of going back to a guild, they're gonna go find 6 people. So, I mean, there are similarities. Maybe that's why I didn't. It's not that I thought it was. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Okay, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was cool. It's just like I'm not really hooked yet. I'm gonna keep watching it because people hype it up and say it's much better than Fairy Tail. It's executed much better. It's just better, and it's just really good. So I'm gonna keep watching and I'm gonna keep reviewing it. Um, but right now I'm just like it's cool, I guess. I mean, like I haven't seen the magic yet, but I'm assuming magic, not referring to the spells they use, but magic is in like what makes it awesome. Um, yeah, I guess I'll just have to wait for that because I guess I'll just have to wait because not much happened in this episode really. Stuff happened, but like nothing to hook you. So yeah, but I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for now, and that's that, you guys. This review went on for way too long. This is even longer than World Trigger. Jesus. Yeah, that's I'll just end the review here, you guys. Episode gets a 7 out of 10, and that's that. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.